There's a moment right after work that feels like a quiet doorway opening. You step through it almost without noticing. 1 second you're surrounded by tasks, expectations, voices that are not yours, and the next the world becomes softer. The air changes, your shoulders drop a little, and for the first time all day you hear your own thoughts again. It's strange, isn't it? How we spend hours performing tiny versions of ourselves, answering emails, nodding politely, being reliable, professional, appropriate. But the minute you close the door behind you, something loosens, something real. You return to the person you are when no one is watching. And that moment, that transition, is where language becomes honest. After work, we speak differently. We say things like, "I just need a minute," or "let me breathe." We choose simpler words, softer ones, words that come from the body rather than the calendar. I've always believed that the English you use after work, the quiet English, reveals more about you than anything you could say in a meeting. It's the language of habit, comfort, release. The language of who you are when nothing is demanded of you. So today, Marcus and I want to explore that space with you. Not the English of tasks, but the English of coming home. The English of taking your shoes off, putting your keys down, and finally, returning to yourself. The light looks different at this time of day, doesn't it? It feels like the world is exhaling. So, Marcus, tell me, when you get home after work, what's the very first thing you do?
Honestly, the very first thing I do is sigh. Like a long, tired finally. Then I drop my keys on the table. Always the same spot.
A ritual. Those tiny moments mean a lot. And after the sigh, what usually comes next?
I take off my shoes. Immediately. I can't stay in shoes 1 second longer. Most days, that's the moment I start feeling like myself again.
I understand that completely. And after the shoes, do you eat something or do you sit down first?
It depends on the day. When the day was heavy, I go straight to the couch. I don't even think. I just fall into it.
Heavy how?
Meetings. Deadlines. People asking me for things every 5 minutes. By the time I get home, my brain feels noisy.
And what do you do with that noise?
I try not to open my phone. But I usually fail. I tell myself, just 1 minute, and suddenly I've lost half an hour scrolling.
You're not alone. After work, people aren't tired of work. They're tired of being reachable.
Exactly. Sometimes I put my phone face down just to pretend the world can't see me.
When the day is lighter, when it's been kind to you, what changes?
Oh, everything. On those days, I'm lighter too. I get home humming some random song. I open the fridge, find something that looks like food, and call it dinner. Most days it's pasta or leftovers.
And do you talk to anyone while you eat?
Not really. I actually like the silence. It's like a reset button. I just sit there thinking about nothing or about everything.
That space after work, it's honest, isn't it?
It really is. When I'm alone in my kitchen, eating something simple, I feel more real than at any meeting.
I like that. And after dinner?
If I'm responsible, I wash the dishes immediately. If I'm not, I pretend they don't exist.
That's very human of you.
To be honest, most days I just take a shower. A hot one. That's my favorite part of the evening.
Why the shower?
It feels like I'm washing the day off my skin. Washing off conversations I didn't enjoy, problems I couldn't fix, things I wanted to say but didn't.
And thoughts you didn't have time to process.
Exactly. Sometimes I stay there too long. I know I shouldn't, but it's the only place where no one asks me anything.
A sanctuary. And once you're out of the shower, do you feel different?
Completely. It's like my whole body says, okay, now we can begin the evening.
Do you change into something comfortable?
Immediately, soft clothes. Old t-shirt. Warm socks if it's cold. Comfort mode activated.
I can almost see it. And then what do you usually do?
Well, I try to relax. I really do. But sometimes my mind keeps running. Thinking about work. Thinking about tomorrow. Thinking about things I didn't finish.
And what do you do when your mind refuses to slow down?
I make tea or hot chocolate. Something warm, it helps me slow the pace a little.
Do you speak to yourself? I mean in English?
Sometimes, when the house feels quiet, I say things like, I'm exhausted, or I need a break. It sounds silly, but hearing it out loud helps.
It's not silly at all. Language is more honest at night.
Yeah, I think so too. But on the worst days, I don't talk. I just lie on the couch and stare at the ceiling.
And what do you think about in those moments?
Everything and nothing. Mostly I think about breathing. Just breathing.
I like that answer.
What about you, Olivia? What do you usually do after work?
I walk, even if it's only for 10 minutes. I step outside and let my mind stretch. The city looks softer in the evening. People look softer too.
That sounds peaceful.
It is. And while I walk, I ask myself a question.
Which one?
Who was I today and who do I want to be tomorrow?
That's beautiful. And deep.
Evening thoughts tend to be. And what about you? If you had to choose just one moment after work that feels like yours, truly yours, what would it be?
Sitting by the window. Lights off. Just watching the street. People going home. Cars passing. That silence, it feels like a friend.
And does the English in your mind become softer too?
Yes, I stop thinking in correct sentences. I just think in feelings. Words like quiet, warm, tired, almost okay.
That is where real language lives, between emotion and honesty.
You know, I never really thought about how I act after work. Talking about it makes the whole thing feel bigger.
Bigger and also clearer. When you talk about your routine, you talk about your truth.
And when I say it in English, it feels like I'm learning about myself too.
That's the beauty of it. After work, we speak to be understood, but also to understand ourselves.
Do you think it's normal to feel so different after work? Like two versions of me exist?
Completely normal. There's the version of you the world needs, and the version of you the world deserves to meet. And that second version, Marcus, he usually appears after work.
I like that. I usually try to be him more often.
And you will. One evening at a time.
Thank you, Olivia. Talking about this, it felt like taking another breath.
Then let's keep breathing together. Tonight, let's explore your English not through tasks, but through who you are when the day finally ends. There's something beautifully honest about the moments that happen after work. They're quiet, unpolished, unperformed. They don't belong to the version of you that answers emails, solves problems, or tries to sound confident. They belong to the version of you that simply exists. And that's why talking about what you do after work is, in many ways, talking about authenticity. I've always believed that language becomes most alive when it's connected to small things. Not big speeches, not perfect grammar, not impressive words, but the tiny moments you repeat every day without thinking. When you say, I usually take a hot shower, you're not describing a task, you're revealing comfort. When you say, most days I just sit in silence, you're not reporting a fact, you're showing vulnerability. These sentences might look simple, but emotionally they're incredibly deep. And that's why English feels different after work. During the day, you speak the language of responsibility, but in the evening, you speak the language of belonging. Your after-work English is softer, more human. It's a language that doesn't need to impress anyone. It only needs to feel true. Even the structures you use reflect that honesty. Phrases like, when I get home, or I try not to, open a little window into who you are. They tell a story in just a few words because you're not trying to be correct. You're trying to be real. And that's where true fluency grows. Not from fear, but from presence. Your routine after work doesn't show who the world expects you to be. It shows who you are when all expectations disappear. And when you speak about that part of your life in English, something subtle happens. You begin to belong to the language as much as the language belongs to you. You stop performing. You start inhabiting. You stop translating. You start feeling. That's why this topic matters. Because the English you use after work is not the English of tasks. It's the English of you. Marcus, now that you've opened this little window into your evenings, let me ask you something more real. What do you do when your mind feels heavy, truly heavy?
When it's heavy, I slow down. I move like I'm underwater. I try to breathe deeper, but it doesn't always work. Sometimes I tell myself, just make it to the shower. And that's where I start untangling the day.
The shower again. It seems important to you.
It is the steam, the silence. It's like the world gets blurry for a moment, and when it clears, I feel a little lighter. Out to myself there. Not always out loud, but, in English sometimes.
And what do you say?
Things like, it's fine, or you did your best. Sometimes I even rehearse conversations I wish had happened. It's strange, but comforting.
That isn't strange at all. It's a way of returning to yourself. And after the shower, does the heaviness stay?
Not completely. But it softens. I put on comfortable clothes, the kind that makes me forget everything formal. Then I go to the kitchen and try to cook something simple.
Try.
I'm not always successful. Most days I just look at ingredients and hope they magically turn into dinner. When I actually cook, it's usually pasta. Easy, predictable, warm.
And how do you feel while you cook?
Quiet, present. It's like chopping vegetables or stirring a pot forces me to exist in the moment. But I avoid cooking sometimes.
Why?
Because I know I should, but I don't want to. I avoid cleaning and emails and thinking about tomorrow.
What do you avoid doing, but know you should?
Laundry, definitely laundry. Calling people back, answering messages. Anything that requires energy I don't have.
That honesty, that's where the real language lives. And when you avoid all of that, what do you do instead?
I walk not far, just around the block. I put on my headphones and pretend the world is a movie and I'm just passing through.
And during these walks, do you speak to yourself too?
I say things like, it's not that bad, or you're okay. Or I narrate what I see. The air feels cold. The street is quiet tonight. It helps me think in English without forcing it.
And does walking help you stop thinking about work?
A little. When I walk, the thoughts get softer. They don't disappear, but they stop shouting. I try not to think about work in the evenings, but most days it sneaks back in.
How does it sneak in?
A notification, a memory, something I forgot, or just the weight of responsibility. Even when I'm relaxed, part of me is waiting for the next thing to worry about.
And what do you tell yourself when that happens?
I say, not now, or this is my time. But it's hard to believe it sometimes.
I understand. And when you finally sit down, really sit, what happens?
I melt, that's the word. Melt into the couch, into the room, into the evening. I just sit there breathing slower than before.
And do you let silence fill the room?
Yes, silence feels like a friend I don't see enough. I sometimes turn off the lights just to feel the room breathing with me.
And in that dim light, who are you?
A softer version of myself. A version that doesn't need to prove anything. Someone who just wants peace.
And do you find it?
Not always. But I get close. Especially when I talk to myself in English. Not to practice, but to understand how I feel. It's strange, but English lets me be a little braver than Portuguese sometimes.
Language can do that. It gives you distance and closeness at the same time.
It really does. And when I whisper something like, "I'm tired," it sounds honest. Like the words finally match the feeling.
And after all of this, the walking, the cooking attempts, the shower, the silence, how do you end your evening?
I sit by the window. The same spot. I look at the street. The lights, the people returning home. Everyone with their own tired stories. I watch the world move while I stay still.
Does that moment belong to you?
Completely, it's mine. It's the moment when everything inside me settles. When I finally breathe without rushing.
And if you had to describe that feeling in English, not perfectly, not academically, but truthfully, what would you say?
I'd say, I feel almost okay. Not perfect, not amazing. Just okay enough to rest.
That's a beautiful kind of peace. The kind that doesn't need to be loud.
Yeah, I think the evenings teach me how to be gentle with myself.
And your English learns that gentleness too. Every sentence you've said tonight came from honesty, not effort.
Maybe that's why it felt easier. Like the words were just there.
Because they weren't about grammar. They were about you and who you are after work.
Thank you, Olivia. Talking about this made the whole evening feel warmer.
Then let's carry that warmth with us. Because the language you use after work, that soft, quiet English might be the truest version of your voice. Evenings have a way of telling the truth gently. They don't ask you to be impressive, productive, or perfect. They simply ask you to come back to yourself. And when you pay attention to the small things you do after work, the way you breathe when you close the door, the way you speak softly to your own thoughts, the way you let silence rest beside you, you begin to notice the quiet shape of who you are. These little habits, these tiny rituals, they draw the outline of your real self, not the version you present to the world, but the one that lives underneath. And when you describe these moments in English, something beautiful happens. The language becomes warmer, more human. It stops being a subject you study and becomes a place you inhabit, a place where your feelings have room to breathe. So I hope tonight's conversation stayed with you in some small way. I hope it helped you see that learning English isn't just about speaking correctly, it's about speaking honestly. If this video made you feel something, or made you think about your own evenings, I invite you to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and keep learning with us. And if you want to continue this journey right now, there's another video waiting for you. It's appearing on the screen as we speak. Take a deep breath. I'll meet you there